We are live, ladies and gentlemen, with Chuck the Contractor on this beautiful Thursday morning.
Welcome to the morning show. So this is our third weekly live call, and this one is in the morning. The other two were in the evening, and so we're just kind of experimenting, trying different formats. You can think of this as a podcast where you can just listen to it while you're driving around town, or YouTube video you can watch later. We are just throwing stuff out there and seeing what is most useful to you. So let us know in the chat or in the comments later, or however you can, what you think of this and if it's helpful. If there's any topics you want us to cover, if you want me to take a look at your business and do a little mini audit for you and give you some feedback, you can throw it in the comments and I'll do that. We've got one today. Somebody put a comment in from the last live call asking me to take a look at her website. So we're going to do that.
And hey, before we get into that, we've got Bart from Bicknell Builds in Seattle in the chat here.
Awesome. What's up, Bart?
Yep. Do you have the chat up?
I don't.
Okay. He says, Chris and I are really looking forward to working with your team. Love the content, man. Keep it coming.
Awesome. Yeah, I just did a consultation with Chris the other day, and we're going to be doing their website in that here. So it's going to be awesome.
Epic. Super cool.
Open up this chat on my phone so I can see it. What was I saying? We're going to answer some comments. We'll probably do that at the beginning of all these. So, I read all the comments. If you have something juicy to talk about or a question, post in the comments. I'll answer it live on one of these calls. And if it's a good clip, it'll probably end up being its own YouTube video at some point. So the comments, we'll take a look at Pretty Girl Construction. That's what that company was called. And then just like 15 minutes ago, I came up with what I think will be a really valuable product for my customers. And most of my customers are contractors, tradespeople, construction companies around the country. So I just want to throw it out there, see if anybody thinks this would be valuable or interesting. So let me pull up the comments. We'll start there. Give me 2 seconds so I can open this up.
Cool. Great name, by the way. Pretty Girl Construction.
Yeah.
That's some branding right there.
YouTube channel, so we'll
nice
that too and see what people think. Contractor. It's not often I look at my own channel on YouTube.
Nice. Oh, we've got someone else in the chat. Could you audit my company, Jewel Dream Homes?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick
What's
look.
the URL?
Yeah, URL and like the city that you're in. That makes it easier to find. Jewel Dream Home's a pretty unique name, so it'll probably be easy. But okay, should I share my screen with these comments?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let's see. Let me find you. There you are. So I got to share the window now. Now I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Comments. All right. So I just read through these this morning. There was a couple. Let's see. Here's someone talking about, okay, so they use Angie Leads and Angie Ads. He says, by the time I would call most customers, they were pissed because they didn't know why they were getting 5 phone calls after filling out the form on Angie's website. Many would schedule dryer vent cleaning, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, so basically upset people. We did a video on this topic a few months ago, Roman, with your wife, Justine. And
on the way.
Justine had, she was on Facebook. She saw something about getting see if you qualify for a rebate to get was it an air conditioner?
It was Windows. And it was some California government program that was supposed to pay for the whole thing.
So in California, they give tons of rebates for making your home more energy efficient and stuff like that. And so she saw an ad, I think it was from Anderson, Renewal by Anderson, which is, I think, their marketing wing. But anyway, she saw this ad by Anderson, said, see if you qualify. She filled out the form for her parents. Like, I think she put her own number in. And then she immediately started getting calls from a ton of contractors, like wanting to schedule a time to come measure her windows and give her a quote for new windows. And she had no idea like how this happened. And that video is interesting because we just kind of went with it and tried to do some, I guess, investigative journalism. But we determined that like she had asked some of those people calling how they had got the leads, I think, and they said that they came from Angie somehow. And we did some research and found out that Renewal by Anderson does a lot of marketing online. And when someone fills out their lead form, those leads end up being sold to companies like Angie and then resold to contractors. And so, you know, this guy, Trevor, saying that he gets a lot of upset people, not sure why they're getting 5 phone calls right after filling out some form somewhere. It's because people are filling out forms all over the internet, not necessarily knowing what's happening, or they're kind of being misled on what's going on, and then their information is turned around and sold that minute. And so that's why people don't answer their phones, or they're frustrated. You know, when I used Home Advisor, it was like 1 out of 7 leads we could even talk to. And that seems to be pretty common across the board. And that's why. It's because the people filling out these forms, the people whose info you're getting, most of them aren't really looking for a contractor right now. And they're not sure how they even got, or you even got their info. So if you know that going in, it can kind of help you maybe approach those phone calls a little different, because you have to know that when you're calling someone, they might not know who you are, or that they're even going to be getting calls. And I guess that video is coming out soon, but you'll see in that video that we called back the company, or we called back a few of the numbers who had called Justine, and we determined that they were all the same company. And so this construction company, they have multiple salespeople, and these people would call kind of like representing themselves as different companies. That's what it seemed like to me. Or they didn't make it really clear that it was just one company. But when you listen to all the voicemails in a row, you can see that they all have the same script and everything. So it was probably some answering service or something. But this company has adapted to buy these really low quality leads, and so they have this really intense follow-up system that can make it seem like it's multiple companies calling when it's really the same one calling over and over again. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important to understand the whole lead generation game from the back end. I mean, this stuff has been done for the past 20 years. The most popular one I'm aware of is with shopping for cars. If you ever shop for a car online, you've probably seen those calculators of like, how much car can I afford? Or like, see if you're pre-approved, or check if this car is available. And it's kind of the same thing. They're all just lead captures where it's going to, get your income and your, what type of car you're looking for. And then at the end, it's going to go for the results to see if you're approved or whatever. Give us your email and your phone number. And then that's what they do too. They'll sell that lead to, well, I don't know if it's multiple dealerships, but it's the same scenario where you're not expecting someone to call you and try to sell you something. You were just dabbling. You were just kind of poking around. Yeah. And then these dealerships are blowing you up. And then they train those salespeople at the dealership so aggressively. They're like, don't get off the phone until they cry, buy or die. And it's just it's a savage industry. And, what do they say? Marketers ruin everything.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not going to be many forms or calculators or stuff that you use online that aren't some form of lead capture. Mm-hmm. Because people learn that if they can answer a question for you real quick and you're willing to trade your info for it, that they can get your info and sell every 20th person on whatever they're selling. So you just got to know that going in. People are pretty savvy these days. There's like all sorts of online services that are really cheap or free where you can create like an email really quick, and you can use that email in the form and it'll forward you emails for like 3 days or something. And people
actually, I've got a trick for that. If you haven't heard of that, you can put any word in front of your own email address at least this worked with Gmail. So like if my email is roman@gmail.com, you could put like chuck.roman@gmail.com, and then it'll still go to my main inbox, but it'll show you where it's sending to. So then you can see like you can what I do is I'll name it like the site that I put my email into. So say I was putting my info into an Angie site, I would put angie.roman@gmail.com. And then if they sell it to other companies, I'm going to know that because I'm going to get an email and you can see it in the to field that it was to Angie@roman.
Interesting.
So
that'd be a good way to see where these leads are going.
Yep.
All right, let's see. Another Angie one. Here's Pretty Girl Construction. We'll get to you in a moment. Let's see. There's another person getting suspended by Google. I didn't even get a warning that they were going to suspend me. That's always how it is. You know, Google's too big to give you really great customer service. And Google My Business is a free thing. So it's really, you don't really have any recourse. You just have to jump through their hoops, do the best you can, pay attention because your listing will get suspended without you knowing it. And if it does, you want to get that thing reinstated as soon as possible. They will send you an email when you do get suspended, and you'll have options to, you know, request that they reinstate it. They'll usually ask for some kind of documentation or something proving that your business exists at that location and things like that. We deal with hundreds of Google listings, suspensions. A lot of times they'll get suspended the moment you create one. And we've never not been able to get a listing unsuspended. It's just a matter of following up nonstop until you get what you need. So, you know, be patient with Google, but be relentless. Like you have to just keep trying until you get through. And no, I don't know an email or something that you can use. Like you just have to go through their channels. Let's see what else that we have here.
Yeah, we just started a new Google account yesterday. It was just it wasn't in my business, but it was like you know, the Gmail side of things. And it got suspended right out of the gate. I'm not sure why, but there was a link to dispute it, and it took like an hour, and then it was back up. So yeah, it's all automated. It's just weird.
It's a safeguard for them because there's probably so many spammers trying to create these all the time that they just automatically suspend it, and 90% of the scammers aren't going to try to do anything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Here was a really good comment from Zane Engineer's Life. If that's a good YouTube channel. If you guys haven't heard of it, you should go check it out. He gives a lot of like entrepreneur type advice. He said, what is the typical % of revenue budget that a general contractor in the sub 1 million per year range should plan to spend for marketing website ads? What seems to be the sweet spot? So I responded to him, but I'll go over my response here because I spent a lot of years like trying to think this way, where for a general contractor, which could be any GC in the United States, like what's the percentage of their revenue they should spend? And if you Google it, you'll find things like, we could just Google it right now. Like what percentage of revenue should a general contractor spend for marketing? And you'll get a bunch of answers. Like this one says 15%. This one says 7 to 8%. But I don't think this can apply directly to you without addressing your specific situation, which I explain in this comment. So my response was, it varies widely and it depends on the supply and demand of customers in a given local market. So we've all heard of supply and demand. The supply in this situation is the amount of customers available. So if you do remodels, how many remodeling customers are available to you in your market in a given year? And then the demand is how many general contractors in your area are there competing for these same number of remodeling customers. So I give an example, a general contractor in a city with around 40,000 residents, where the other their competing general contractors, so the other companies, aren't very aggressive with their marketing, they could easily pass the 1 million a year revenue mark, only investing 6 to 10,000 a year. And I've seen it over and over again with people hiring my marketing team to do their marketing, and they spend $10,000 a year and they blow past $1 million. So that's only 1% of revenue, which is way below these estimates that you're seeing online. That same exact general contractor could move to a place like Los Angeles, and to pass $1 million a year, he could easily have to spend 100,000, which would be 10% of the revenue. So 1 to 10%, and he might even have to spend more, maybe 15%. It's so competitive that when you try to buy customers and you compete with your dollars against all these other general contractors, most of whom are bigger than you and better at marketing than you, you end up having to spend a ton of money. And when I talk to new companies in these really, really competitive markets, I always ask them, are you open to moving and doing this somewhere else? Because there are so many cities across the United States with smaller populations, but like very little competition for you. And if you're strategic about where you go, you could easily create a really profitable business with a really small marketing budget if you do it right. So there's also the question of profitability, because knowing your revenue numbers doesn't really tell me anything, because I know general contractors that do over $1 million a year, but they only take home like 50,000. And I know other GCs who are doing like 400,000 a year and they take home half of it. And so how profitable you are is just as important as any of these other numbers, because if you're only making 50K a year, you definitely don't want to be spending 100 grand to do your marketing. And so that's super important. So because of this really high variability, I try to tell people to focus on their own numbers. Like if you don't know off the top of your head what your revenue and profit was last year, like then you're not ready to invest in this stuff. Like you need to know that. And so like, what was your revenue? What was your profit? How much you spend on marketing and how much money you make from the customers that come from that marketing. All these numbers are really important. And if you know what they are, then you can decide how much money you're willing to spend to buy customers. Because at the end of the day, if you're competing with dollars to get customers, you're just buying customers. And you need to know how much money you can spend to get one customer. And this is playing the game of averages. So you look at all the clients you had last year. Let's say you had 100 and you made $1 million. Then your average client was worth 10 grand to you, $10,000. And you just work these averages all the way across to figure out what your marketing budget should be or can be, and what your targets are, meaning how much you are willing to spend to acquire a customer. And then you go out, and when you actually pursue some kind of marketing strategy, you can measure the results and know whether or not it's working for you. Are you on target? Are you acquiring customers at or below your maximum that you're willing to spend to get those customers? Or are you spending too much? Because if you're spending too much, you need to stop immediately and try to do something else. So it always depends on the market and the company, what their numbers are and what level of competition there is and how big the pool of customers is that they're going after. When I know all those things, then I can give them a budget. But I don't think it's helpful when you're addressing construction companies and contractors across such a wide range of situations to give like a blanket answer like, oh, you should spend 10%. I've found over the years the best way that I can help people is not to like give people flat budget advice on like a YouTube channel. I do one-on-one consultations. I ask people about all the numbers I just went over just now, and I look at their market and assess how many customers are available, and almost more importantly, what level of competition there is. And then I can give them reasonable options and a path to getting where they're trying to go and tell them how much it's going to cost. So you can do a lot of this stuff yourself. Like if you don't know any of those numbers that I just went over, like go dig through your financials, your bookkeeping software, whatever you use, and try to figure out like what was your revenue, what was your profit, meaning like money left over after you paid all of your overhead and job costs and everything, and try to figure out, how much you're willing to spend to acquire one customer. So thank you, Zane, for that comment, and everyone go check out Zane Engineers Life. Super awesome YouTube channel. I get tons of inspiration from it, and I appreciate Zane. Can you hear that garbage truck outside? Okay, let's do, I don't have time to go through more comments because I got a hard cutoff at 11, but let's look at some of these companies here. So the first one was Pretty Girl Construction. She was asking for, let's see, she wanted feedback on, I think she just said her company. There she is. She started her career as a real estate flipper 8 years ago, started her own construction company called Pretty Girl Construction. Audit the website, see what I can do to improve. Okay, so the website is specifically what you're asking for is feedback on. When I just want you to know before I get into it, when I look at a website, like I was trained to do this when I was a remodeler. Like I go in and I notice the things that are wrong right away. So I do the same thing with websites. So if I like rip your website up, just know that like I'm only going to mostly point out the things that are wrong with it, and don't be offended. Okay, so first thing I noticed is this logo super huge. I would definitely make that smaller and probably make it bigger so that I could read it, because these words in these like subtext here I can hardly read. It says projects done beautifully. That should definitely be bigger. Also, when I start to scroll, the navigation bar is taking up like a third of the screen. And so I'm just looking at your navigation bar the whole time, and it really is ruining the experience of being on your website because it makes it really difficult to read the rest of your content. Let's see, empowering diversity in construction industry. All right, so it's not exactly clear what you do. You do construction. If I had to guess, I would say empowering diversity in construction industry. Are you like an advocate or a recruiter? Quality electrical services. Are you an electrician? So your website's very focused on the empowering women and diversity, but it's not super focused on what is the actual service that you do. So if I'm like a possible customer, the first thing that I do is my brain's trying to confirm I'm in the right place. So if I'm looking for an electrician, I want to see like electrician in blank area, like whatever area you're in. And that confirms that I'm in the right place. And then I can continue reading whatever I'm looking for. But if in my brain in that split second, if I can't confirm I'm in the right place, then I'm going to think I'm in the wrong place. And I'm just going to hit the back button and I'm going to go keep looking for something that's easier to find. So when it comes to online stuff, you got to assume people are not going to work very hard to find what they're looking for, because Google has trained people that they don't have to. So when someone lands on your website, think of it from their shoes. Who's landing on this website? Make sure they're seeing what they're looking for. If this is what your intended customers are looking for, well then great, like leave it on there. But if you're trying to get electrical clients, probably not. All of your photography and stuff on your website is like industrial and commercial. So the people landing on your website probably wouldn't be finding you on Google very often. They would more likely be coming from some other source. Like if you're doing outreach, or if you're bidding on contracts that are like open to bid online, and somebody goes to your website to see what kind of company you are, then they're going to be a totally different person than someone coming from Google. So you have to adjust for that. There's no pictures of your people on this. There's some stock photos of of just stock photos of people. So I always recommend, especially for something like this, like you have a mission here, your face should be on the mission. If your face isn't here, then it makes it harder to trust you, because why would someone have a mission and not be willing to show their face? The only pictures are stock photos of this guy. So definitely you want to have like real photos whenever possible. If you don't have a lot of project photos, then use photos of people. If you don't have a ton of customers yet because you're just starting, so you don't have projects to show off, then talk about that. Talk about how you started this company, why you did it, what you're trying to do, and a possible angle for making sales and getting customers will be finding customers who align with the same values and are going to be able to get behind your cause and take a chance on you. Because if you haven't done you don't have a ton of experience, that's what your customers are doing. They're taking a chance on you. So why should they take a chance? Make sure that that's really clear. And then I guess the final piece of advice is there's not a lot of content on here. It's really light. And so if you have a mission, like, tell us all about it. Have a video of you here, have an essay about what you're doing, why you're doing it, all that kind of stuff. Be really clear on the services that you do. Like electrical construction services can be so many different things. It's a bunch of like features of your products: innovative, quality, dedicated team, female focused. But like, you're not specifically addressing any of the things you actually do. Like, do you do factories? Do you do power lines? Do you do commercial, residential? Like, if I had a specific need and I don't see it on here, then I'm going to go somewhere else. And then this says button, so your template isn't finished. You gotta make sure that those little things are not like that. Cool. I hope that's helpful. Thank you for posting that up. Appreciate that. Let's see. Let's take a look at the next one.
Right on. Yeah, we've got Jewel. What was it?
Jewel Dream Homes.
Yeah, Jewel Dream Homes in London, England.
London. Cool. All right. So I Googled your name, your website showed up, and your Google listing showed up. So that's good. Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you'll find other companies. That's kind of frustrating. You have 6 reviews, so that's not very many. I imagine it's pretty competitive in London. So having 6, you're definitely going to want more. And people always ask, well, how many do I need? It's less about how many you need and more about changing your daily focus to getting reviews. Like, if you can go out and get 1 review a week from anybody, then you're on the road to success, because in a year from now, you'll have 50 more reviews. It's not like something that you can just take care of this week and never think about it again. It's something that has to become part of your day-to-day routine. Take a look. Let's just do this. So what, like, suburb? Cricklewood?
Oh, Chuck, I've got it in the chat here for context. This is what they said. It's my father's business, and I have set up all the online stuff for him. He's very old-fashioned, has always relied on referrals, but they have dried up now. Would appreciate any help.
Cool. So that is a situation that I hear about all the time. It's the same one that I went through like 5-6 years ago with my family's company. We had always just worked off of referrals, repeat customers. One winter, we found ourselves dead in the water. So I redid our website and I ran Google ads. I forget how many, it was either 3 or 6 jobs. And that got us through the winter. And then by the time the winter was over, we had the referrals and repeat clients coming in again. And we haven't run ads since. So it's good to know how to do this stuff so that when you need it, you can do it. It's not good to wait until it's an emergency. So let's see. So we're in Cricklewood. Let's just do, is this a custom home builder? Let's check out their website really quick. Jewel. Design build. I wouldn't have that pop up. I'm like trying to go somewhere and that pop up just interrupted me. I wouldn't like that if I was a customer. Okay, we design and build the home of your dreams. So do you only design and build homes? Do you do remodels, refurbishments, and conversions? Okay, so you do remodels, you do additions, you call them extensions, refurbishments. Maybe that's what you guys call remodels. That stuff should be like front and center. Like, tell me what you do in the most simple, clean, easy, fast to read way possible so that I can confirm I'm in the right place. Because if I was looking for a remodel and I came here, I would just think that you only build homes and that I'm barking up the wrong tree here. So the easiest thing to do is to make sure that nobody feels like they're in the wrong place if they're in the right place. Let's do a couple demo searches. So let's do home builder, and I'm going to do Cricklewood because that looked like the closest suburb to you. And you're like, most of the time when it comes to being on Google organically on Google Maps, you're never going to be able to compete that way in the whole London. Like, if somebody's over here in Bromley and they search for your exact service, Google's probably going to have at least 100 contractors between you and them to show. And so Google's going to show them first. So when it comes to organic Google Maps, you don't want to try to compete in a huge area because you're just increasing the number of companies you're competing with. In a heavily populated, highly competitive market, like I'm sure London is, you're going to want to focus on a much smaller area around yourself, dominate there, and then try to expand out. So Crickle was the closest big word I see. So I did a search for that. And let's just see what Google shows me. So we've got 2 companies running local service ads showing up here, 21 and 10 reviews. That's not that many. If I do show more with 6 and 7. So
Hey, check those say Coeur d'Alene, so I think it's just serving you based on your geo.
Really?
Yeah, for the guaranteed.
That's frustrating. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe I could do that. No. Thanks, Google, for trying to help me. Okay, here we go, though. So local service ads, they're not going to show me the right stuff. Let's look at Google Maps. There's not a lot of reviews on any of these. That's weird. Refurbishment. This guy's got 47. Like, let me just show you. Like, if I do home builder Los Angeles, this guy's got almost 1,000 reviews, 72, 300. If we go down to Google Maps, we've got 15, 10, 3, 63, 153. Quite a few. If I do remodeling Los Angeles, 50. This is that same company with 1,000, 600. If we go down to Google Maps, we've got 93, 40, 11. Pretty low numbers of reviews, honestly. Because there's a lot of companies in this area. I just know because I've looked at this so many times that have hundreds of reviews. Google's showing me a lot of different contractors now. But from what I'm seeing, so this is London, the competition doesn't seem that intense. And I just look at the number of reviews. So I think of it this way. If I can come into this market, build a really good website, get more reviews than my competitors, and make sure that Google knows like what I do, where I do it, and choose the right size market, I should be able to dominate a bubble around my location. And according to this, your ECEH on here, Mr. ECEH, you need to do this search for yourself and see how many reviews your competitors have and try to have more than them. Like, if your competitors that show up for you, because Google shows everybody different things, if they only have like 14 reviews, then you just need to have 15 and you'll be beating them. So that's the biggest thing that you can do right away. You have 6. Try to get up around 20, and that could help. And now let's take a look at your website. So if we go back to your homepage, you're built on WordPress with Elementor. Okay. Ultimate design and build, where craftsmanship meets world-class design, turnkey expert, delivering your dream home. I like to have the service categories somewhere up here. So we call it remodeling. We'd be like remodeling, additions, home building, something like that. We could do like kitchen remodels. We can do kitchens, bathrooms, home renovations, additions. Like you really want to make it super clear for anyone who lands on your site, all the different things that you do, so that they can move past that step of trying to confirm what they do, where they do it. The website design looks really nice so far. It's clean. Your logo is the right size. Your navigation bar is not taking up too much room. Like all that looks really good. You got great pictures of your work. Oh, can I open that into another page? Yeah, this is awesome. You've got basically like a case study, good photography, a little bit of text, which is great. You're like taking somebody through an experience. You end it with contact. Like this is awesome. Okay, here you go. So now you've got new builds, renovations, extensions, basements, refurbishment. So you want to make sure that these words are up here somewhere, like really pronounced. So as soon as someone lands here, they know that they're in the right place. And then you also want to make sure that any applicable categories that exist inside your Google My Business options, that those are there too. Because there's usually like remodeler, kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, general contractor, home builder. Those are all different categories. And by you tell Google which categories you cover, and then you make those front and center on your website. And that gives Google a lot of confidence when they're considering showing you above your competition. It gives them more confidence that they're showing the right things. And that's Google's job. Let's look at the about us. That's after someone confirms that you do what they want, where they want it. The next thing they usually do is they try to figure out who you are. So they'll go to the about us page. So you talk about your story. I'm guessing Victor's your father. I highly recommend having more pictures. Like who's this in this picture? Have a picture of, if it's a family business, have a picture of you guys up here. Have some photos of you guys doing the work. It's kind of not intuitive, especially as a remodeler, when you have all these amazing finished product pictures and you spend thousands on professional photography. It's kind of not common sense to show pictures of things under construction and with people in them, but I think it's a good idea. I've worked on this website where we had probably thousands of magazine quality photography and images. And when you looked through the website, it looked like it just felt like empty. It was weird because there wasn't any pictures of people. It was all these like super clean, nice looking, but like blank spaces that didn't look lived in or anything. And so there's some element of like show people some spaces that look a little lived in, show pictures with people in them, and it just warms up your website and makes it feel more inviting. This stuff is really important when it comes to things like remodeling and home building, because there's so much trust that goes into this before someone even contacts you. I've had people tell me that when they called for a remodel and to get an estimate, that they've been looking at our website and a few other websites for like a year, and they finally decided to go with us when the time came, because they thought they liked our website the most. They liked what they saw. So people will spend tons of time reading this stuff, looking at your pictures. It'll be open on their browser for months. And so they really need to trust you before they call. Something like getting a drain unclogged or like a water damage, that's an emergency. People aren't scrolling through the website for months looking at photos and stuff. They just need somebody there now. So that kind of website can be completely different. But for something like Jewel Dream Homes, trust is like half of your website's job is trust. And so have some pictures of the people at the company. Like, who am I going to talk to if I call you? Like, hey, call and talk to so and so about your remodel and ask any questions you want and have a picture of them. Like, that goes a long ways. I think that's some pretty good feedback for this site. Like, your website's really good. I might consider making a specific service page for each of those types of services that you do. So like you have a section, you have like a little paragraph for each one. Each one could get its own page with, if somebody is calling to get their basement finished, what are all the things they need to consider? What's the process for getting a price? Is there a price range you can give? How long does it take to do it? All of that information is very specific to somebody looking to get a basement finished. If somebody's looking to get a whole new home build, what are all the things they should consider? What's the process? So you want to have a page for each type of customer that comes in and give them a catered experience directly for them. What are the things they should be aware of? All of that kind of stuff. And that gives your customers a better experience, but it also reinforces to Google what you do and what type of customers are best served by you. And at the end of the day, Google's goal is to make their customers happy. They do that by showing the best search results. So if you want Google to show you, just be the best search results for your customers. And you can forget about all this like SEO and all this like jargon. If you just focus all of your attention on giving your customers the best experience you possibly can on your website, then your website will perform better than most of the rest. And only after you're doing that to the best of your ability should you start to worry about SEO and things like that. Because every day Google gets better at knowing what's valuable and what isn't. And they are less reliant on all these technical like loopholes and cheat codes that you can use. And they just look at what's on there and they watch people find you on Google, read your reviews, go to your website, contact you, and come back a year later and leave a review. Google sees that whole thing happen. So if they show you and they see people going through that loop using your company and they see that you're making their customers happy, they're going to show you more often.
Hey, Chuck, they just said in the chat that they're doing Google search ads, but haven't had any calls yet after 3 days.
So that's probably an expectations thing. I don't know how your Google ads are set up. I don't run my own Google ads. I've met one guy ever who runs them properly and consistently. And so he runs all my ads now. But I would bet money that your ad account isn't set up properly. So that's one thing. And that's just off of statistics. It's not a dig to you. It's just that every account I ever see isn't set up properly. Another thing is 3 days isn't enough time to make any judgments, because with a company like this, the supply of possible customers for you is probably not very big compared to somebody who just does bathroom remodels. A lot more people get their bathroom remodeled than build a new home. And so there's not going to be that many customers going around. And then on the other side, you've probably got a lot of You've probably got a lot of competitors who are also running ads, who've probably been running ads longer than you and have figured out how to spend more money than you and make it work for them. So you're competing against them. And so for a company like this, I wouldn't expect to get a whole lot of leads every month from Google ads, because there's going to be so many contractors competing for these leads and Google spreads them around. So, if you spent, I'm just going to use dollars, but if you spent $3,000 a month, like you might only get 3 to 6 leads a month, and they might all come in the last week of the month. So the first 3 weeks, you'd be sitting there thinking, this isn't working. And then in the 4th week, you'd get a whole bunch. And that's how this marketing stuff works, is you have to do something for a long enough time to gather data and start to be able to make judgment calls off of the data you're getting. And even 3 months isn't a very long time when it comes to Google ads. So that's why when we work with companies on this stuff, we always start with the organic stuff. We want to make sure that your Google listing is set up properly, that you're getting reviews regularly, that your website is showing the right stuff. And we want to see you getting leads organically from at least the area around your location before we start doing things like Google ads, because these kinds of leads are always going to be a lot more profitable than Google ads. Not like every single time, but in the long run, they will be. And once you have this stuff set up right and you are getting reviews and whatnot, then you can also run local service ads, which is this stuff, these ads showing up here. I don't know if they're available in London. They're available all over the US now. But this basically takes your Google listing, pops it up at the top, and you just pay Google when you get a phone call. So it's a lower risk option than Google ads, because you could spend $1 million on Google ads and get 0 leads. But if you spend any money on these local service ads, it's because you're getting phone calls.
Right on. They also asked Chuck, how would you suggest to get customers more quickly apart from Google?
I would make a list of all of your past customers and call all of them, check in on them, see how they're doing, ask if they know anybody that needs a remodel or needs a home or anything like that, and use your own network to try to come up with work. That's the fastest and easiest way to do it. And it's the most under your control, because you can do that tomorrow. You can also ask them for reviews at the same time. Try to stack this stuff up. Like, what can you do for them and what can they do for you? Try to roll it up into one action. But if you're not doing that already, then that's what I would do for sure.
Good stuff.
Okay, so we're almost out of time. So I want to run this idea, and I'd love your feedback, Roman. But you guys in the chat, post up if you think it's a good idea, bad idea, whatever. But so when it comes to marketing, like half of the battle is tracking results. And it's become super clear to me after talking to hundreds of contractors in the last year on these consultations that almost nobody tracks this stuff. And the most important thing to track in regards to marketing is you want to track every lead and where it came from. Because if you could end the year with a list of every single lead, good, bad, fake, whatever, but if you could end the year with a list of every lead that came in and where it came from, then you can compare that list to your customer list and you can find out where your money came from. And if you're investing in marketing, at some point you're going to be investing in multiple channels, because there's rarely an opportunity or rarely a situation where you can get all the leads you need from one place. So you need to get them from multiple places. And if you can get to the point where you can see where every customer came from and see where every dollar came from, marketing channel wise, then making decisions in regards of what to invest in marketing becomes just a matter of what are the numbers. The numbers will tell you exactly what to do, but most people aren't tracking them. And so the solution has always been, well, like, get a CRM, that stands for customer relationship management or manager, and track every lead as it comes in. But I know from experience, like when I'm answering the phone call or answering a call from a new lead and I'm on the roof somewhere and I'm taking notes on a 2x4, then it's not going to make it into my CRM. And so that happens all the time. And so we offer marketing services. We have leads coming in for our customers for multiple ways. And one way we deliver these is through a text message. But most of our customers still don't track this anywhere. And so they might get customers, but at the end of the year, they don't know where they came from. And so I thought this morning, well, what if when that lead comes in through a text message, you'll call them right away. What if you could just respond to that text message and have somebody or something put that information into a CRM for you? And so something that I want to try is actually doing that. I have a girl on my team that's a spreadsheet wizard. Every time a lead comes through and gets texted to a client, she can follow up with that client and say, hey, what happened with that lead? Did you call them? Did you reach them? You know, whatever. And they can just respond in a quick text message or even phone call and just say, hey, this is what, you know, called them, answered, going to give an estimate on Tuesday. And then she can put it in the CRM for them. And so that way it's basically CRM by text message. And I think what makes that specific idea really cool is that you have an actual person on the other end of that, like really managing that. And they could be, you know, they could be following up with you like, hey, then you got a lead yesterday at 4. Did you call them? And they could just make sure, because sometimes we need a little extra push even to do things we know are good for us. And I benefit from that as well. I have people on my team who are like, hey, reminding me to do things. So do you think it would be valuable to, when you get a text message through with a lead info on it, you call them, to be able to respond to that text message and have somebody put that into your system for you, and then be able to go back anytime you want and see every single lead that came in, what happened with them, where they came from, all that kind of stuff? Would that be cool? What do you think, Roman?
That's a 1000% from me, huh? Like, of course.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer to me, because I've been in that situation so many times where I'm like, oh, like how many leads came in, or like, oh, someone responds and they want to move forward, or they want an estimate now. And I'm like, where did they come from? When did I talk to them? Like, there's too many people to keep track of. So we're going to try it. If you're watching this video now or in the future, post in the comments or the chat what you think of this. If you want to give it a try, I'm going to have to choose a few of our clients to be like guinea pigs and see how this works for them. But I think it'll be awesome. Basically, tech CRM by SMS. That's what they would call it.
So if someone who watches this later is interested, how can they get a hold of you for that?
Okay. Awesome. I'll have to look that up, because there might actually be services like this already. But
can you hear me?
Yeah.
If someone's watching this later, how can they get a hold of you if they're interested?
Oh, okay. So go to, let me share my screen. So you could go to adaptdigitalsolutions.com and just fill out this form right here and just put in the little box, how can we help you, like what you're looking for. So, hey, saw you on the live call, interested in trying that text message CRM. And then we'll get back to you and figure that out for you.
Awesome.
Cool.
Very cool, man.
Thank you, Roman. Super Spreader Media. Always appreciate you. And thank you, everyone who attended today. If you're watching this later and you want me to audit your website or your company, post up the name of your company, the location, and if you want the URL to your website with the name and location, I'll be able to find it. If I can't, then that's what you need to work on.
Sweet. Cool. Thanks, everybody. Nice job, Chuck.
Thanks.
Talk to you later, man.
All right. I'll see you.
Bye-bye.